The story begins with young Noah, the youngest of 5 sisters, each renowned for their exceptional skill in the art of fencing. Despite his hard training, Noah was constantly inferior to his sisters, who were true masters of the sword. But on this day, an unexpected turn occurred. When he almost lost in another duel, he suddenly showed extraordinary dexterity and technique. For a brief moment, he seized the initiative, surprising everyone. But this success was fleeting. The sister named Sirius quickly recovered and prepared to deliver the blow that would end the fight. She jumped high, pointing the blade at the confused Noah, who only covered his head with his hands and began to beg for mercy. Their fight was watched by Lisa, the sister with whom he often trained. She appreciated his unexpected progress. Lisa helped her brother up and asked him how exactly he was practicing. Noah admitted that he had been practicing the skill for 3 years. However, Lisa was not satisfied and insisted that from now on she would be his personal mentor. She wanted to understand why he was still so weak after so much time. When Noah began to sadly talk about his lack of talent and difficulties, Lisa interrupted him without an ounce of sympathy. She was irritated by his lack of confidence and sharply accused him of empty words and lack of action. Noah burst into tears, not knowing what to do. Lisa continued to reproach him, accusing him of laziness and lack of desire to study even under strict guidance. She scornfully stated that he was so weak that even the greatest mentor could not make him a worthy swordsman. After she left, another sister, Sil, approached him, noticing that Lisa had been overly harsh. Sil asked him if he was going to give up fencing and suggested changing direction and trying magic. Noah wearily replied that he had told Lisa he had no natural talent for fighting. Sil nodded, but added that he had no aptitude for magic either. She asked what his strong point was then. Noah hesitated, which caused Sil some disappointment. She reminded him that their father had taken him into the house out of necessity, not free will. Although she had tender feelings for him, Sil felt that he did not fit into their family and advised him to remember this. Realizing that he had no other way, Noah decided to leave. Surprised, Sil did not believe his words and asked again. Noah, without hesitation, said he would pack his things and leave the house. Then Sil realized he was serious and tried to talk him out of it. He explained that he said this on purpose, hoping for Lisa's reaction. Perhaps she would try to stop him. Sil was worried. She was sure that Lisa would definitely intervene, and she doubted that Noah could survive on his own. Finding a job was not easy, but Noah confidently declared that he would become an adventurer. His determination amazed Simil. He opened the door and began to explain his plan. Guilds are always looking for new members. Sil didn't believe his words. She reminded him that the profession of a seeker is fraught with dangers. You need to fight monsters and take on risky missions. Noah, however, remained calm. He assured his sister that he would choose tasks according to his strengths and avoid excessive risks. She was still tormented by doubts and asked why he needed this. Noah's answer was simple. He believed that the path of the seeker was worthy. Unlike the careers of a knight or a soldier, which seemed unattainable, the profession of a traveler allowed one to help others. Sil did not like this idea, but she could not help but respect his conviction. Noah had no intention of changing his mind. He was ready to leave. Cyril asked him to wait at least until the end of the month and promised to talk to his sisters, but he refused. He admitted that if his older sister Ilya had been there, the separation would have been even harder. He rejected the idea of staying. He had followed them all his life, relying on his family. Cyril doubted that he had anyone to help him. Then, Noah, without hesitation, told them everything. He made the decision to leave because he knew that if he stayed, he would forever feel pathetic and worthless. Noah approached the massive gates of the mansion, ready to leave the house. Cyril stopped him again, concern visible in her eyes. She wished him strength and wisdom, asking if he was sure of his choice. Noah nodded without hesitation. His sister warned him of possible threats beyond their domain, but admitted that she could no longer hold him back. Now everything depended on him. Noah thanked Sil for her concern and admitted that it was nice to meet her before heading away. However, when he took a step forward, she couldn't stand it. Holding back tears, Sil tried to persuade him to stay, promising to change her attitude and be kinder. But even despite her sincere words, Noah did not stop. He left without looking back. A week later, his path led him to the border town of Raja, a place where the lands of people ended and the lands of demons began. Finding himself amid the hubbub, noise, and dust of a busy city, Noah felt an inner anxiety that would not leave him. It had only been a week since he had run away from home, but it felt like much longer. He was afraid that his sisters would track him down and take him back. Suddenly, a stranger approached him and called him by a false name. Mr. Zig. That's what it sounded like. The man introduced himself as Ordo, a merchant, and said that the cart Noah was supposed to use was getting ready to leave. To avoid detection, Noah gave a false name, Sieg. Ordo noted that despite all the difficulties, they had arrived safely. He then asked if Noah really intended to become an adventurer in the Raj. He answered in the affirmative, and Ordo handed him a sealed envelope. Inside the envelope was a letter of recommendation to the local guild. Noah hesitated to accept it. Ordo expressed gratitude for the help along the way, and admitted that without Noah, he would not have been able to return home alive. Noah thought for a moment, remembering the events that had happened a few days earlier when they had received a warning to stay away from dangerous territory. But even with this knowledge, they encountered hostile creatures. One of the men, realizing the threat, ordered them to retreat. Ordo was afraid for the goods, but his companion explained that the situation was critical and asked him directly, did he want to die? At that moment, Noah noticed how the monster was preparing to attack from above. Reacting instantly, he dodged the attack, demonstrating incredible agility and precision of movement. Suddenly, a mighty goblin general appeared and attacked them with fury. Noah, without losing his composure, pushed one of his companions aside and dodged the powerful blow. He noticed that the goblin's attacks were much slower than his sister Lisa's, and so he had no trouble dodging the attack. As the goblin began to prepare for the final attack, Noah, full of determination, declared to himself that it was time to end this fight. He struck with such power and precision that the goblin general was nearly knocked off his feet. Before his opponent could recover, Noah ended the battle with one clean move, killing him outright. The other goblins froze in horror, watching Noah's swift and confident actions. He immediately took the initiative, ordering his companions to deal with the enemies behind him, while he himself rushed forward to deal with the rest. The man next to him could not believe that the young man had single-handedly crushed the goblin general with one powerful blow. Ordo, still stunned, noted that Noah's fighting style was remarkably similar to that of the famed hero Zelik. Later, as they rode together in a carriage, Noah modestly rejected such comparisons, insisting that he was far from heroic. Ordo smirked and said that Noah was being overly modest. Noah responded by emphasizing that Shin and his comrades were the real heroes. However, Ordo noted that even Shin's squad would have had a hard time dealing with those goblins. Noah asked in surprise if those monsters were really that strong. But before Ordo could answer, the third man announced that they had arrived in Raja. As they parted, Ordo shook Noah's hand firmly and told him that his shop was in the southern part of the city. He invited Noah to stop by any time. Noah thanked him for his support and promised to visit him once he got settled. Ordo assured him that he would always be happy to help. Left alone, Noah headed towards the Adventurers Guild building. This was his first serious step in a new direction. However, he couldn't help but think that if the tasks were too difficult, he might have to give up. At the entrance, a stranger stopped him and asked if he was a newcomer. Noah reacted sharply, scared, and immediately asked who it was. The man apologetically said that he did not mean to scare him, he just noticed how nervous he looked. He assured that the guild is open to all newcomers and is ready to support them at the start. The man admitted that he cannot promise success, but noted that much depends on Noah himself. He thanked him and entered the guild building. Inside, he was met by a girl named Romelia, the branch manager. She kindly asked if he wanted to register. Noah confirmed his intention, received the form, carefully filled it out, and returned it. Romelia checked his details and informed him that he was now officially listed as an F-rank adventurer. Noah, a little embarrassed, asked if the guild accepted materials for sale. Romelia agreed and asked to see what he had. He took out his small bag, explaining that everything he needed was inside. Despite its size, the bag turned out to be magical. Romelia eagerly led him to the warehouse, where they could lay everything out. In the storage room, Noah began to pull out trophies from the magic bag. He wondered if such artifacts were common. Romelia confirmed that they were extremely rare. After hearing that Noah had made it himself using a magic seal, she noted that he probably had magical abilities. When Noah laid out all the contents, Romelia was shocked by the number of items.
I would be very happy if you subscribed to the channel, liked and wrote a comment, rating this manga on a scale from 1 to 10. Your opinion is very important to me. This will help me better understand what my audience is interested in, because you are really important to me.
She asked him who he really was. Noah was a little confused and said that he was just a beginner, studying both sword and magic. Romelia, looking at the items, noticed that one of the goblins he defeated was clearly of higher rank. She specified that among those defeated were 4 D-rank goblins and 1 C-rank general, and added that to defeat them, one must be at least level B in elite category inaccessible to beginners. Then she asked if he was a hidden knight. Noah refused. Romelia also pointed out that some parts of the trophies were missing, and half-jokingly wondered if he had stolen something. Then Noah remembered the letter from Ordo and decided to show it. He handed her the letter. After reading it, Romelia noticed Ordo's personal seal and realized that everything described in the document was true. In the letter, Ordo directly confirmed that Noah personally defeated all the monsters. Convinced of this, she apologized for her suspicions and admitted her mistake. However, she noted that she did not have the authority to decide the issue of rank promotion on her own. At that moment, a man standing nearby suggested that they organize a special test for Noah to assess his abilities. Romelia agreed, and the man added that if Noah really was as strong as Ordo claimed, then he would easily pass the test. Noah was surprised to learn that the man was the head of the local guild. He introduced himself as Alberto, the manager of the Raji branch. Noah felt a mixture of respect and slight confusion. Romelia, seeing Alberto, was surprised by his appearance. He explained that the line at the counter was too long, and he decided to help. She thanked him and hurried away. After this, Alberto turned to Noah and offered to tell him the details of the test that awaited him ahead. He asked Noah what decision he had made. He asked if it was a special exam. Alberto confirmed, adding that passing the exam was not mandatory, but if successful, it would allow him to advance in rank. He advised Noah to think about it and decide on his next course of action. The next morning, Noah walked into the training arena where the trials were to take place. The place had a rich history. Knights, mercenaries, and even merchants had been selected here. He looked around the area with a little excitement and anticipation. Romelia came over and informed him that the examiner would be arriving soon. She explained that the test would consist of combat training, and if Noah performed well, he would be promoted to D rank. Romelia explained that the fight could not begin until the examiner arrived. She gently took Noah's hand and assured him that, despite the difficulty of the upcoming duel, she believed in his abilities. Noah thanked her and nodded affirmatively, confirming his desire to take the test. He also asked if there were any pitfalls to this exam. Romelia confidently stated that there were no risks. Even if he felt unprepared for more difficult tasks, he could always choose missions with a low rating. These words encouraged Noah. A hope awoke in his heart that the exam would be the start of a new life. He felt that achieving this goal would restore his lost confidence. Leaving home, despite his fears, only strengthened him. Everything seemed almost like a dream. At that moment, a girl ran onto the platform, apologizing for being late. Romelia scolded Kurta for her slowness. She justified herself by saying that she hadn't been able to get ready in the morning. Noah's eyes widened in surprise. He realized that Kurta would be his examiner. Romelia introduced them to each other, and Noah noted that she was about his age. Sensing his confusion, Kurta asked him ironically if he doubted her qualifications. Noah quickly denied this. Romelia intervened and explained that despite her youth, Kurta was an A-rank seeker and possessed remarkable talent. These words shocked Noah, undermining his self-confidence. Kurta looked at Noah carefully and said that although he seemed like a promising newcomer, he did not have the inner drive of a seasoned fighter. She warned him that he could get hurt if he was not careful, and asked if he had changed his mind about participating. Noah firmly stated that he was ready. Romelia announced that the duel was about to begin and explained the terms. The fight would end if someone surrendered or the examiner deemed the test over. As the fight began, Noah was overcome with excitement. He remembered how he had trained for years under constant criticism, and how those words had made him doubt his own abilities. Kurta looked at him and thought that he looked even weaker than expected. However, she was not going to back down. From the start, Kurta realized that the fight could end in injuries and decided not to underestimate her opponent. She aimed a punch at the head, but Noah quickly dodged. Startled by his reaction, she pressed harder. She tried to kick him, but missed again. Noah dodged. Realizing he was unable to effectively respond to her flurry of strikes, Noah focused on defense and keeping his distance. Kurta began to suspect that he didn't fully understand the level of danger of the exam, but she decided to keep up the pace to really test him. She attacked again, and Noah deftly avoided the blow. Kurta noted his agility, but warned that defense alone would not win the fight. Seeing his wooden sword and lack of magical support, she decided to use her strength and speed to finish the fight. Seeing Noah sheath his sword, she assumed he was using Leto's technique, which she did not think was very effective. She rushed into another attack, but unexpectedly received a precise blow that knocked her off her feet. As she stood up, she asked if he had used the air punch, a high-level technique. Her surprise was genuine, and she immediately asked where he had learned it. Noah remembered Lisa calling it the foundation of mastery. He almost let it slip about his sister, but quickly lied, saying he learned the technique at the dojo. Kurta, who knew that the local schools did not teach such techniques, realized that he was hiding something. Now seeing his true level, Kurta decided to continue with full concentration. At this point, Romelia intervened, reminding him that the purpose of the duel was to evaluate Noah's abilities, not to have a full-fledged fight. Kurta nodded, agreeing that she would try a few more attacks. Noah noticed the magical weapon in her hands and realized that one bad move would destroy his wooden sword. Her blade moved with incredible speed, although it was inferior to Lisa's style. He remembered Lisa's instructions. Every blow should be lethal, and instincts should be the main defense. But before he could concentrate, Kurta delivered a powerful blow, throwing him back. Coming to his senses, Noah realized how fast her attacks were, almost impossible to predict. Kurta scolded him sternly for his inattention and picked up the pace, moving into an even more aggressive phase of the fight. Noah focused on his breathing, gradually gaining inner calms, and this allowed him to track his opponent's movements more clearly. He realized that Kurta was not as dangerous as she seemed at first. Skillfully dodging and noticing a gap in her defense, he struck back. Kurta fell and admitted defeat. Romelia, amazed that a newbie could defeat an A-rank adventurer, officially acknowledged Noah's victory. She immediately went to Kurta to check on her condition. Kurta assured her with a grin that she was fine. She had seen worse. However, Romelia suddenly noticed that Kurta was not wearing a bib or outerwear. Embarrassed, Noah quickly turned away while Romelia helped Kurta get herself ready. Kurta then asked him with a smile if he had noticed anything unusual. Noah replied that he hadn't noticed anything special. Romelia said she would go get the guildmaster and hurried away. Kurta noted with slight concern that Romelia was in a hurry as usual and might get into trouble. She then playfully touched Noah's cheek and told him not to take things so seriously. Noah gently pulled away and asked what was wrong with her. Kurta giggled, telling him to be less withdrawn and wondering if he scared her. He admitted that he was indeed afraid of what she was capable of. She then placed her hands on his shoulders and innocently told him that she wanted to throw a celebratory get-together in his honor. Noah, confused, asked what she meant. Meanwhile, in Noah's home mansion, his sisters were gathered around a long table, with one seat empty. Ilya, upset by her brother's absence, expressed her displeasure at his sudden departure. She turned to Sistel and demanded to know why she had not used magic to stop him. Scylla calmly replied that using magic in such a situation could have unpredictable consequences and even put Noah in danger. Ilya insisted that it was their duty to protect him at all costs. Fam intervened, suggesting that they stop arguing and think about what to do next. He acknowledged that Noah's decision to leave was emotional, but urged everyone to act constructively. The ecclesia refused to get drawn into the argument, saying Noah ran away because he felt constant pressure from his parents. Elijah accused ecclesia of submitting to the church's instructions, to which she responded that there was some truth in that. The conversation turned to the role of parents, and the sisters agreed that although they were not particularly close to Noah, they still wanted him to become a worthy man, the kind of person they themselves dreamed of becoming. Ilya nodded and reminded him that ecclesia often criticized Noah's abilities. She added that she herself passed on to him the knowledge of the structure of the world and taught Sidel magic. Everyone tried their best, but it was the lessons with Ilya that he liked the most, while training with Lisa was a real test for him. Upon hearing this, Lisa struggled to hide her shock and demanded an explanation. Ilya accused her of mistreating her brother under the guise of training. Lisa countered by explaining that her strictness was a way of preparing Noah for real dangers, not an expression of cruelty. Elijah chuckled and did not accept her excuses. Then Ecclesia entered the argument, questioning Lisa's intelligence, boasting about her memory for the multiplication table. Lisa suggested that they test her. When Ecclesia asked how much 9 times 3 was, Lisa could not answer. Elijah intervened and asked for a pause in the conversation. She reminded them that they needed to find Noah as soon as possible. He could be in danger. Lisa confidently said that Noah could handle it if he had his sword. Scylla added that she had taught him some basic magic, and that should keep him going. The room fell silent as each of them wondered where their brother might be. Suddenly, the sisters had the idea that perhaps Noah was already enjoying a new life full of comfort and freedom. They imagined him surrounded by wealth, recognition, and female attention, and suddenly began to doubt whether he really wanted to come back. This thought left them confused and worried. Elijah, however, firmly said that only she had the right to be near him. They suggested that Noah might have a girlfriend who was taking up all his attention. The ecclesia refused to believe it. Lisa, recalling her actions, seriously wondered how he had dared to escape. Cyril admitted that the situation was getting out of control, and Lisa, without saying a word, left the room. Elias suggested that they find her first, and then return to the general discussion. The sisters agreed. First find Lisa, and then gather again. Meanwhile, Noah was in one of the guild's storage rooms, trying to be alone with his thoughts. Romelia looked inside and asked in surprise what he was doing in this room. Noah, feeling a strange chill, did not give a clear answer and waved the question away. Romelia noticed the monster's body that Noah brought back and informed him approvingly that it was valued at 180 gold. Noah was a little confused and asked to clarify what exactly Romelia meant. She explained that she was talking about his adventurer rank. Noah assured her that D rank would be fine for him to start with, and that he intended to rise in rank quickly. The conversation moved on to another topic. Romelia offered him to join Kurta's group, but Noah declined, explaining that although he had thought about it, he was uncomfortable working with her. Her presence reminded him too much of his sisters, causing internal tension. Seeing an opportunity for teasing, Romelia called out to him with a sly smile. When Noah asked what was the matter, she remarked that Kurta was not only one of the Raja's best adventurers, but also quite attractive in appearance. Noah blushed deeply, embarrassed by her remark. Romelia continued, hinting that working with Kurta might lead to closer interactions, which supposedly often happened in such situations. Noah quickly dismissed the idea, insisting that he was merely annoyed by it. At that moment, Kurta herself appeared and asked what the conversation was about. When Noah learned that she was the one being talked about behind his back, he blurted out that he didn't want to work with her because she had bullied him before the fight. Kurta apologized in surprise for her behavior and offered to team up again. Noah declined the offer and asked why they were there at all. Kurta replied that they had come to gather information. She mentioned that she had heard rumors of the undead appearing. Romelia confirmed this and promised to give details later. Kurta asked if it was related to the current search, and Romelia admitted that it was. Noah asked what exactly Kurta was looking for, and Romelia, after a moment's hesitation, answered that it was about finding a strong partner. Realizing she had said too much, she apologized to Noah and asked him to forget what he had said. Noah nodded, promising silence. Romelia thought about how openly she was speaking to him, not like a normal adventurer. Although she was usually confident, she felt more vulnerable around Noah. She knew in her heart that it was time to make the situation clear to Kurta. Noah clearly had no interest in joining her party. Romelia knew that Kurta was respected in the guild, but for some reason the newcomer kept turning her down. She wondered how the rest of the guild might take it, and Noah himself began to suspect that the situation might make others jealous. Romelia agreed with his concerns and suggested keeping a low profile for a while. Then, Noah expressed a desire to take on a mission from the city. Romelia asked if he was sure, since such missions often boil down to mundane work. Noah explained that he had enough money and wanted to better understand the locals. He believed that such tasks would help to strengthen his reputation. Romelia confirmed that there were many requests and offered one of them, cleaning the churchyard for 8,000 gold. Noah agreed, considering it a good start. Meanwhile, in the shadowy depths of the city's sewers, something disturbing was happening. A mysterious figure, shrouded in darkness, was performing a sinister ritual over a dead body. There was irritation in her voice. The experiment had once again failed to live up to expectations. However, despite the failure, the figure acknowledged that the result was not a complete failure. As it stepped away, the body began to rise on its own, animated by dark magic. Remaining in the shadows, the figure quietly noted how much effort it had taken to sow hatred throughout the city. She was certain that the next stage was near. Meanwhile, Noah, using the name Seek, reported on the completion of the task of cleaning the church cemetery. He used magic to cleanse every inch of the ground, leaving the area in perfect condition. As soon as he was finished, a woman from the temple named Rhea approached him with a new request, to investigate the underground springs from which the poisonous miasma emanated. Using a consecration spell, Noah set out with 3 companions. Rhea was impressed by his light magic, noting that such spells were rarely seen outside of church circles. One of the assistants, Loga, hastened to assure the others that the miasma did not pose a serious danger. But the third companion, a girl named Nino, was skeptical. She even threatened Noah with a sword if he was useless. Noah, surprised by her aggression, assured her that he had put a lot of mana into the spell, and it should hold back the miasma for some time. Despite his confidence, Nino continued to doubt him as a low-ranking mage. Rhea defended Noah, emphasizing his competence. She reminded him that he had cleared the entire cemetery in one day, and even Nino was amazed by the scale of the work. Noah took the opportunity to reveal that he had cast Blanche's light spell, a special magic designed to banish the undead, on every grave in the cemetery. Nino was momentarily stunned by these words. Rhea added that even in the Church of the Holy Cross, few people were able to use such magic. She suggested that Noah might be a real expert. Noah then remembered that it was his older sister, Pham, who taught him these spells, thus reminding himself of his connection to the magical heritage. Nino didn't make an impression. She immediately declared that she didn't like Noah, despite the fact that they had just met. Loga, trying to defuse the situation, jokingly suggested that her hostility could be caused by jealousy. He admitted that he himself admired Kurta and asked to be accepted into the team more than once, but was refused each time. In Loga's opinion, Nino was irritated by Kurta's sudden attention to Nokaya. Nino, slightly irritated, told everyone to calm down and promised to do her job perfectly. However, Loga teased her by saying that she was acting like a capricious child, which only added fuel to the fire. In response, Nino reminded Loga how a few months ago, Loga was humiliated by the administrator's refusal and could not recover for a long time. Embarrassed, Loga asked to leave the past alone. Rhea, noticing the tense atmosphere, suggested that they focus on the investigation. Noah stopped in front of the massive gate. Rhea broke the silence, explaining that a dangerous criminal group had once had a base here. Their activities had been interfering with patrols, and by the time the authorities had caught on, the miasma poison had already spread. After assessing the concentration of the toxic fumes, Noah asked if she thought a cluster of monsters might be the cause. Rhea nodded, noting that the miasma level was indeed higher than normal. At the same moment, Noah noticed something strange in their structure and warned everyone to be on guard. Nino, holding back a yawn, looked at the miasma with disdain and replied that there was no danger. Her skepticism was dispelled when a ghoul emerged from the fog and attacked them with fury. Loga immediately realized that it was an ambush, but he didn't have time to notice the creature that crept up from above. With a dull crunch, it fell on him, opening its mouth, ready to grab its prey. Luckily, Nino reacted with lightning speed and cut the monster in two. The ghoul's upper body hit Logi's shield with a dull thud, and he groaned in displeasure, asking Nino not to take down any more monsters right above him. She shrugged and told him to move forward, to which he snorted that he already knew everything. He rushed forward, sweeping away the undead with such ease as if he was scattering dust. Noah, who was fighting at the same time, could not help but admire his power. He noticed how well coordinated Nino and Lobiga were acting, and even wondered if they were brother and sister. When the fight was over, Rhea hurried to make sure no one was hurt. Loga, grateful for Noah's timely warning, assured her that everything was fine. Nino, having surveyed the area, confirmed that the ghouls had been destroyed, and then, in surprise, praised Noah for noticing the threat before her, despite the fact that she was a ninja. Noah was puzzled. He had never heard of ninjas. Apparently, they were Eastern warriors, masters of stealth and sensory skills. While he was thinking about this, Nino called out to him in irritation, asking if he could even hear what she was saying. Confused, Noah replied that sensing an enemy was a normal skill, nothing special. Nino frowned and explained that being able to detect an invisible enemy was an advanced technique and began to suspect that he was just kidding. Noah chuckled awkwardly, remembering how his sister Lisa always said that a real fighter should be able to sense danger, even when blindfolded. While the squad was catching their breath, Rhea shared her doubts. It was unusual for ghouls to set up ambushes. They usually acted roughly and directly. Loga agreed, saying that this was the first time he had been attacked from above. This made Rhea wonder if there was something more intelligent behind these attacks. As they continued forward, Noah noticed that the miasma was becoming denser. Rhea reported that they had already gone deep enough. Noah suggested that they use the sanctuary again when they reached the lower levels, and Lojanoga agreed, calling Nino over. Suddenly, a strange piece of paper flew past her foot. She looked down and saw it slide forward, then wrap itself around her, immobilizing her. Nino didn't have time to do anything. Her body was tightly wrapped in paper. Everyone froze. An oppressive premonition hung in the air. A giant zombie dragon emerged from the depths of the miasma and let out a hoarse roar. Loga immediately recognized the creature. It was a zombie dragon, a monster of catastrophic rank. He did not understand what such a terrible beast was doing in these dungeons. The dragon rushed forward, aiming straight at the immobilized Nino. Noah came to his senses and rushed forward. His sword cut the paper, freeing the girl. Nino fell down exhausted, and Logrega caught her in time. But the monster did not stop. It fired more paper strips, but Noah parried them, cutting them in mid-air. One of the strips still grazed his cheek, leaving a bloody scratch. Brushing away the blood, Noah charged towards the dragon with cold determination. When it released its ribbons again, Noah used them to push himself off and fly upward. He raised his sword, intending to strike the monster's back. But at the last moment he realized that the attack would not cause serious harm. The zombie dragon turned out to be much more resilient than he expected. A new wave of paper rushed towards him, but Noah deftly cut it in mid-air. He quickly realized that this enemy could not be defeated with simple blows. He would need strength much greater than what he had now. Noah realized that his sword might not be able to withstand another powerful attack. He remembered Lisa's advice to take care of his weapon, because the sword is an extension of the warrior's soul. He hesitated for a moment. At that moment, Nino, sensing how serious everything was, suggested retreating into a narrow corridor, assuming that the large zombie dragon would not be able to catch up with them there. But as soon as they looked into the passage, it became clear that it was filled with dozens of ghouls. Loga immediately realized that the whole situation could have been a trap from the very beginning. However, there was no time to think. The dragon appeared in front of them again, letting out a terrifying roar. Numb, Noah thought of his sister and mentally apologized for the possibility of destroying her sword. But then he pulled himself together, his muscles tensing, and a powerful aura erupted from his body, a glow of power that filled the space. Rhea, Nino, and even Loga froze in shock. Could this newcomer really be capable of manifesting such energy? They wondered what the source of such an unusual aura was. Meanwhile, the dragon transformed the paper projectiles, forming them into a paper drill that hissed as it spun through the air. Noah gripped the hilt of his sword tightly, closed his eyes, and focused his energy, preparing to strike back. As the drill flew toward him, he opened his eyes and responded with a furious swing. Noah's blow easily split the drill in two, then landed squarely in the monster's chest, revealing the pulsating core beneath its ribs. For a second, he felt relief. Finally, his attack had worked. But suddenly the sword gave way. The blade cracked and broke. He was left with a fragment in his hand. Shock ran through him. Noah knew Lisa would be angry for damaging the weapon. His thoughts began to spin, but another horror distracted him. The wound on the monster's body began to heal. Rhea screamed, explaining that the demon's core was inside. It was what gave the monster its ability to regenerate. The dragon turned and prepared to attack again, and Nino screamed, warning Noah to be on guard. The dragon rushed forward, but the squad hid behind Lorega's shield. He promised to hold off the onslaught while the others figured out how to destroy the monster. In the midst of the battle, Nino pulled Lorega aside and gave him a sharp slap, reminding him that they were a team and had to work together. She then handed Noah a black steel kunai, her secret weapon that could not be destroyed. Loga supported her, telling Noah that it was now his turn to protect his sister Rhea and finish off this monster. Noah readily accepted the weapon and nodded. When the monster's attack paused, Logana shouted that now was the best time. Noah flew into the air, pushed off the wall, flipped over, and landed right on the dragon's back, where he could clearly see the core. He put all his strength into his jump and, using a kunai, pierced the monster through, landing on his feet in complete silence. The zombie dragon let out a final roar, began to crack and crumble into pieces. The entire team screamed with joy, tasting victory. Rhea and Lorega rushed to Noah and hugged him. He smiled in relief, glad that everyone was alive. He then handed Nino her kunai, praising the weapon for helping him destroy the enemy. Noah blushed slightly when Nino thanked him. He admitted that he was not yet accustomed to thanks. Nino bowed politely in response, saying that it was not necessary. Noah noted how easily she handled the situation, despite her strength. Nino thought about it. Despite his strength, he seemed fragile to her. When Noah, embarrassed, called her name, she waved it off, saying that it did not matter. He was left slightly confused. Noah asked where the ghouls that had blocked their path earlier had disappeared to. Nino reported that they had suddenly disappeared. Loga expressed suspicion. Perhaps someone was controlling them. Rhea agreed, adding that only a very powerful mage could have subdued a zombie dragon. Rhea suggested going back to the original mission, investigating the miasma in the water channel. Lozaga noted that the mission was more of an A-rank mission, and suggested continuing once they had collected the necessary materials. Everyone agreed. Loga looked at the broken sword with sadness, and then promised Noah to introduce him to a good blacksmith. As they left, a snake with a dark mark on its forehead watched them in the darkness. Meanwhile, a crowd had gathered in the Windstar Kingdom. Excitement was in the air. Lisa stood before the massive golem and thought, she hadn't been summoned for so long. She had a premonition that they wanted to test her again. The king, looking at her with doubt, noted that this time the fight would be much more difficult. Lisa, as always calm and confident, replied that she was ready to fight at any time and with any enemy. Magrave, an advisor, stood nearby, persuading the monarch to abandon the idea. He explained that the golem named Argos was not an ordinary machine. Lisa was confronted by an ancient golem, an artifact found in forgotten ruins. It was armed with a real Gatling gun. Magrave was worried. Despite Lisa's unrivaled swordsmanship, Argos could outmatch her. But the king remained calm. Lisa stretched her shoulders and encouraged the monarch, assuring him that she could handle any attack. The confidence in her voice made a strong impression on him. In addition, she asked for a favor. If she were to win, she would like some time alone. The king asked if she would just like to rest. Lisa explained she needed to find his missing brother. The king, frowning, gave his consent. He gave the order to Magrave, who, with visible reluctance, admitted that he would not take responsibility for the possible consequences. The golem Argos activated and began the attack. As the mechanism came to life, Lisa remembered why Noah had disappeared. Their vow to protect each other after their parents' deaths came to mind. The machine gun barrels began to spin. Lisa drew her sword, and a hail of bullets rained down on her. She deflected each one without wasting a moment, then lunged forward, clutching her blade. Using the blade-in-flight technique and the fourth flash skill, Lisa launched a lightning strike and accurately pierced Argos's defense. The golem fell apart with a crash. Magrave was dumbfounded, but the king did not hide his delight. Lisa, passing by the monarch, reminded him of his promise. She said that she was taking a vacation, as agreed, to find his brother. Meanwhile, in the border town of Loja, the residents breathed a sigh of relief. The threat of the zombie dragon was behind them. Rhea suggested taking a short break. Loga was not only pleased with the completion of the task, but also with the bonus he received for the materials he had obtained. Noah's reputation as a warrior was cemented. As they prepared to leave, Noah approached Lomega and confessed that he felt he had been underpaid. Loga assured him that he had earned every coin. Nino added that Noah had single-handedly slain a zombie dragon. Nino noted that as a B-rank adventurer, he was not in need. Noah assumed that missions of that rank were well paid. Loga whispered to him not to be late tomorrow, promising to show him a special place. When Noah asked if they were going to the forge, Loga chuckled and told him to keep quiet. He would find out everything in the morning. Nino, overhearing the conversation, became suspicious and decided that Loga had strange intentions. The next day, Logaroga was waiting for Noah in the park. Noah called out to him when he saw him, but noticed Nino nearby. She told them to go ahead. Loga frowned and asked why she was there. Nino looked at him suspiciously and said that he wanted to take Noah to Water Street. Noah asked what kind of place it was, and Nino explained, a street where old ladies with dubious reputations lived. Noah was shocked. Loga defended himself, arguing that adventurers were supposed to have fun and celebrate successful missions. Nino couldn't argue with that logic, and Noah admitted that his sisters wouldn't approve of such behavior. He had 5 formidable older sisters at home. Loga anxiously asked if they were really that scary. Noah nodded. Then he suggested forgetting about Water Street and heading to the blacksmith. As they walked through the busy streets, Noah was surprised by the number of people. Loga explained that there were over 100 workshops in the area, as Lamea was the center of the continent. where craftsmen and seekers flocked. Nino added that the nearby forest supplied the city with valuable materials. Loga mentioned that there was a dwarven country nearby, which interested Noah, as he had never met a dwarf. Loga laughed and said that the blacksmith they were going to was a dwarf. When Noah reached the workshop, he was amazed by its size. But Lobaga pointed to a modest building next door and assured him that the best blacksmith worked there. Nino asked why he kept such a master a secret. Loduga replied that everything would become clear when they met. Opening the door, they felt the heat and heard the rhythmic blows of a hammer. Behind the anvil stood the dwarf Barg, who cast a suspicious glance at them. Loga greeted them and noted that the forge was stuffy. Barg returned the greeting and asked who was with him. Loga introduced Noah and Nino. Barg immediately noted Noah's height, which confused him. Loga explained that Noah had done an outstanding deed, but Barg was dubious, until he heard that he had defeated a zombie dragon. Barg sniffed Noah, then said he believed the story. The boy had an impressive physique. Noah was taken aback, especially when the dwarf jokingly suggested he strip. Loga chuckled, calling Noah Mr. Muscletown, which only made him more embarrassed. His protests only amused Loga even more. Loga complimented Noah's physical fitness and asked how he trained. Noah replied that he mostly did regular sword training. His older sister Fam occasionally watched his training to make sure he wasn't slacking off. Every time Noah got bruised and abraded, Fem used spells to speed up recovery. Perhaps that was why his body was gaining strength so quickly. Nino, hearing this, laughed and noted that it seemed that this was why his sword was much cooler than her humble kunai. When Noah asked her in confusion why she was laughing, Nino replied that she just had a runny nose. Although it didn't look like a sneeze at all, she continued to tease him, which only made him more and more embarrassed. Loga suggested going to the guild. As they walked, Noah considered whether to involve them in the matter related to the order from BG. It spoke of the need to polish the blade and collect the armor of the Wrath. The sword itself was described as a masterpiece. Noah understood that if he succeeded, Bard would consider him worthy of wearing this sword. He warned that the task was personal, and no one was obliged to help. But Loga just laughed and said that adventurers exist for that very reason, to support each other without unnecessary words. Nino added that since the task was arranged through the guild, Birak would have no choice. He would have to be grateful. Later, at the local branch, Lamelia confirmed that all the paperwork had been completed, and their team was officially registered. Noah, noticing how excited Lamelia was, asked if anything good had happened. She was surprised that he had guessed, and admitted that she had finally closed his old request and was now simply dreaming of getting some sleep after 3 sleepless nights. Noah thanked her for her diligence, and carefully asked if this was about the zombie dragon. Lamelia nodded, adding that the best adventurers were still exploring the underground waterways. Suddenly, Kulta entered the guild, surprising both Noah and Lamelia. She immediately joined the conversation, and Nino happily ran up to her. Kulta turned around and, seeing Nino, hugged her with a smile. Nino playfully nudged Noah with her elbow. Kulta confirmed that she was indeed heading out to investigate. Nino, becoming a little more serious, warned her to be careful. Noah remembered that Nino had always admired Kulta. Kulta thanked her friend and assured her that everything would be fine. Nino agreed, confident that Kulta was nearly invincible. At this time, Lulega came up, grabbed Nino by the shoulders, and declared that she had errors in her form, leading her away. Kulta smiled at Noah and noted with slight sadness that fate was leading her to the undead again. Noah was curious and asked what she meant by lost, and if it had anything to do with her past. Kulta was silent for a moment, then sadly admitted that her story was like many. She had lost everything. Her home village was destroyed by demons, and since then she has become an adventurer driven by a thirst for revenge. Noah asked if she was that girl. Kulta seriously asked him not to pity her, because she does not consider herself worthy of sympathy. She admitted that she initially wanted to recruit him to use in her revenge, but later realized that she did not need him, and perhaps she did the right thing by letting him go. As she was about to leave, she said goodbye, but Noah called out to her and handed her an amulet. A demon core filled with light magic. This amulet was supposed to protect her from the miasma. Before she could take it, Nino suddenly intervened. She grabbed the amulet, whispered a spell over it, and handed it back to Kulta, telling him to be careful. When Lorega tried to find out what exactly she had cast, Nino told him to shut up. Kulta just smiled and assured him that she wasn't afraid, especially if the amulet was from Nino. Before leaving, She turned back to Noah and invited him to dinner after completing her mission. Noah replied that he would look forward to it. She left with a slight smile. He hoped that her journey would be smooth, and Nino assured her that Kulta would be fine. Loga, watching them, patted Noah and Nino on the back and reminded them that there was no point in worrying. They had their own tasks. Meanwhile, in the Great Pantheral Swamp, a turtle monster named Ractatus was crunching on an old skeleton. Noah hid behind a boulder and couldn't believe his eyes. Loga explained that stone turtles are every swordsman's nightmare. These creatures are so massive that physical damage against them is almost ineffective, and magic has little effect on them. Curious, Noah asked if the beast had a weak spot. Loga told him that the most vulnerable area was at the base of the neck. Noah gripped the hilt of his sword, preparing for his first serious test. He was determined to test his new blade. He remembered Barg's story about meteoric iron, a giant boulder, more than 5 meters wide, that was pressed and forged into an unrivaled blade, capable of withstanding even a dragon's blow. Barg boasted that the sword was not only incredibly sharp, but also virtually indestructible. Noah believed that such qualities should be enough to defeat the turtle. Despite the high price and considerable weight of the blade, he knew that every gold coin invested in it was well spent. Nino and Loga watched in bewilderment as Noah took his time attacking the stone turtle's vulnerable neck. Loga quietly noted that it was too early to relax. Such creatures rarely appeared alone. Most often they attacked in packs. When Nino asked where so many creatures came from, she answered that wild monsters have an innate sense of strength, and Noah himself is essentially to blame for drawing them to himself. As they prepared for the fight, Loega chuckled and said that even the monsters respected Noah's power, since they had all come in a group. He suggested that he and Nino create a distraction, while Noah found the right moment to strike. Nino warned that the swamps were treacherous, full of quagmires and bottomless pools, and in addition, there were magsites, creatures much more dangerous than those they had encountered before. As if on cue, the monsters' heads turned in unison, and new predators appeared on the clearing. Noah lunged forward and delivered a powerful blow to the forehead of the nearest magsite. However, the attack did not bring any results. The creature looked at him almost indifferently. In response, the monster released a cloud of superheated steam, and Loa rushed forward to cover Noah. He noted that ranged attacks were useless here. Loa admitted that he had been mistaken in hoping for the softness of the shell. As they approached, Noah wanted to switch to close combat, but Loa stopped him, pointing to the shaky and treacherous ground under his feet. Loa explained that magsites possessed the same raw power as Rotatos, but also emitted a dangerous heat that could burn anyone who came close. Noah was about to ask a question, but at that moment, Rotatos suddenly jumped on him. The situation was saved by a well-aimed shuriken, which pierced the creature's eye, followed by a finishing blow. Once in relative safety, Nino explained that the magsites, unlike the Rotatos, lacked magical protection and were quite slow, making them vulnerable to spells. However, the whole problem was that there was no real mage among them. She turned to Loa and asked what they should do next. Meanwhile, Noah thought about the sword forged by Barg and its main feature, the ability to absorb mana. He remembered the blacksmith's instructions. The blade can not only cut through spells that cannot be dodged, but also absorb their magical power, which must then be released safely. He once asked Barg if it was possible to fill a sword with mana in advance for use in magic. Barg confirmed the possibility, but warned that the path of a swordsman is dangerous. People who strive to combine the art of fencing with magic often become mediocre in both disciplines and do not achieve true heights. Inspired by the memories, Noah came up with a risky plan. Try to charge his aerial technique with mana. He had never done this before and knew that the outcome was unpredictable. However, if the experiment succeeds, it could change the course of the battle. Noah asked his friends to distract the magmats while he focused on the magical content of the attack. Loga grinned and volunteered to take care of the 2 magmats, and Nino confidently voiced her distraction tactics. Before she began, she glanced at Noah and sternly warned him. If he failed, she would run him through with her sword. At the signal, they entered the battle. Noah gathered all his inner mana, directing the flow into the blade. At the moment of release, the blade flared with an icy flash. The magmata took notice of the attack, and Nino cleverly took advantage of the situation, throwing a dagger and mockingly calling out to the creatures. The dagger hit the magmat right in the eye and then returned to Nino's hand. The creatures rushed towards her, but one of them fell into the quagmire. Nino deftly dodged the attack, turned around and gave Noah a sign. Now it was his turn. Watching the magmat slip away, Noah gathered his strength and summoned an ice blade. He delivered a powerful blow, putting all his accumulated mana into it. The result exceeded expectations. The monster began to crack and then crumble into ice chips. The victory was sudden and unconditional. After the battle was over, the three of them took a deep breath, relieved to realize that they had dealt with the enemy. Their mood became noticeably lighter. Nino, amazed by the power of Noah's magical strike, admitted that it was truly impressive. Confused, Noah asked if she was joking. Nino backed down, insisting that she hadn't said anything of the sort. But Loga interjected that he had long noticed Noah's talents. He thanked her and noted that they were a great team, causing both of his companions to blush. He then suggested that they celebrate their victory by walking down Water Street. Nino immediately reproached him for his eternal poverty, hinting that he loved to spend too much. Later, already in the lodge, she and Loga were walking past the guild, and Nino suggested that they take a test to increase their rank, assuring that Noah had long deserved it. Loga replied that he was not ready yet. He needed to complete another task. Lamelia explained the details and structure of the rank increase. Loga wanted to say encouragingly that Noah could handle it, but his attention was distracted by the crowd at the entrance to the guild. A woman's scream was heard, and they saw Sister Rhea, barely containing her excitement. Rhea struggles to say that something terrible has happened. Nino places a calming hand on her shoulder and asks her to take a deep breath. Rhea explains that new waves of undead have risen in the temple cemetery, and a dull, terrifying rumble can be heard from the dungeons beneath the building. Rhea has already sent a request to the guild to immediately evacuate all residents near the temple. Nino is stunned, especially considering that Kulta should have been inside the tunnel. Noah agrees to report the threat to the guild, but the ground suddenly trembles, and a powerful explosion is heard in the distance. Rhea points in the direction of the noise. It was a church. Noah's heart sinks with a bad feeling. He asks Rhea to hide in the building, and he urgently calls Loga and Nino. Realizing the seriousness of what was happening, they immediately went to the place. Having reached the cemetery, their gaze opened to a huge funnel in the ground, gaping with darkness. The undead are constantly crawling out of the hole, and a toxic miasma is spreading everywhere. Noah orders everyone to back off, preparing to use his special move. But before he can do anything, a figure flies out of the black abyss. In its arms is the limp body of Kulta, bound and unconscious. It was a mage, radiating an ominous aura. Later, in the guildmaster's office, they report to Avelt that an unknown creature has captured Kultu and escaped. They tried to stop it, but were powerless. Avelt notes that the main thing is that they are still alive. He suspects that it was a demon, a creature far more dangerous than ordinary monsters. Demons are cunning, intelligent, and possess terrifying powers. Perhaps there was a base under the church where experiments with the undead were conducted, and that is where this demon resides. Noah suggests that the zombie dragon may have been guarding the dungeon. The search party leader, an A-rank and former priest, is surprised. Why would the demon take Kulta captive if he could have simply destroyed them all? Adavelt suggests that Kulta was the demon's primary target and asks if there are any necromantic artifacts in the dungeons. The priest confirms that such items do exist. At this point, Nino slams the table in anger, demanding that the rescue begin immediately. She is outraged by their slowness. Avelt, suppressing his irritation, explains that acting rashly is stupid because they are up against an experienced necromancer. Even if a squad is sent there, casualties will be inevitable, and those killed in battle may join the enemy ranks. Adavelt emphasizes that they need a warrior who can match and surpass an S-rank hero in strength. Nino demands to call this fighter immediately, but Akavelt explains that he has already been summoned, but is currently unavailable. It turns out that he was talking about Lisa, a sword master, the best among the thousands of warriors on the continent. Hearing this name, Noah freezes. Lisa was his older sister. Without waiting for further decisions, Nino declares that she will go and save Kulta herself. Loga tries to dissuade her, reminding her that it could cost her life, and Adavelt agrees. But Nino reveals that she had previously cast a tracking spell on the amulet Noah gave Kulta. According to her, Kulta is located northeast of Loga, in the Forest of Evil Spirits. Noah and Loga tease Nino, but she confidently defends her decision, slightly embarrassed. The spell allowed her to pinpoint her friend's location. Nino admits that without Kulta, their journey will be meaningless. She says goodbye, getting ready to leave, and Noah suddenly offers to accompany her. Surprised, Nino asks why, to which he answers with a smile. Kulta promised him dinner. She is touched by this reason, and Loga, overcome with anxiety, realizes that this time, Noah may face a real mortal threat.